Hello everyone and welcome into another video, and in this one I am doing an unusual video, not one I've done before, and that is actually a live reaction to the PlayStation State of Play broadcast, which is happening, as you can see, in about 2 minutes time here on the Tuesday, the September the 13th. Now, I'll be honest, I really have no idea what's coming in this State of Play. We're going to do a live reaction to everything that we see, be it good or bad. What am I expecting? What am I anticipating? Probably PSVR 2 news would be one guess of mine. I suspect we'll see maybe a little bit more from Skull and Bones. Would we see any more Assassin's Creed? Maybe. Obviously, they announced Mirage the other day. Whether or not they show anything more, I don't know. I'm trying to think the State of Play with Call of Duty. Now, obviously, Activision has effectively been bought by Microsoft, although it hasn't completed, but it's in the process of doing so. And in the past, Call of Duty has had lots of exclusives and bits and pieces to PlayStation, including early beta access, early maps. They've even had certain game modes exclusive to the PlayStation console. So be interesting to see whether we see anything from Call of Duty with the beta just over 10 days away. There's FIFA coming out fairly shortly as well. Maybe we'll see a bit of that. So yeah, hopefully there'll be a surprise or two along the way. Hopefully it won't all be stuff that we've either already seen or know about. But yeah, it's always a little bit giddy when you see these, because there's always that part of you that just wants there to be an amazing announcement. There's always that part of you that wants there to be some kind of bombshell announcement that somehow the world didn't know about before this State of Play comes out, because we live in a world where, you know, these game companies have more leaks than a colander. You know, it's next to impossible now to keep a big announcement under wraps and announce it at one of these sorts of conferences. So we can keep our fingers crossed that something big is going to happen in this, and even if it doesn't, let's hope that we get lots of gameplay of lots of games. God of War Ragnarok will almost certainly be in here. That's a point. So yeah, fingers crossed. Hope for a good show. Let's get on with it. I have a Doom bar with me as well for the occasion. Doom bar, if you're watching, feel free to send me some free stuff. Okay then. What are we looking at here? Can't be in I'm assuming this is Tekken. I'm not massively up to speed on these brawl 'em up type fighter games. I've always been awful at them. I'm assuming this is Tekken. I don't really know the characters particularly. I recognize them, but I probably couldn't name them. I was right. Tekken 8. No date. I mean, it just looks like Tekken, doesn't it?
It's official. Tekken 8 is coming to the PlayStation 5 console courtesy of our battle-hardened friends at Bandai Namco Entertainment. Now, let's check in on 2 games in development.
Here we go. PlayStation VR 2.
The story I was telling, it was about a certain droid repair tech.
I haven't actually looked at the specs of PSVR 2.
This kind of trouble.
I've got the PSVR, but because of where it is in the house and my kids and the amount of cables that it has, it rarely comes out. But it was okay. But the fidelity on the headset wasn't as good as some of the more expensive competitors, obviously. The sheer number of cables was a bit mental. So I suspect those will be two things high up on the improvement list.
Oh, hello, my friend.
I mean, graphically, there's nothing particularly impressive about this, I'll be honest. I mean, that looked very much PS3 games, didn't it, really? I know graphics is not what it's all about with VR. If it's about immersion, graphics will easily break it if they're not up to scratch. What we got here? Is this like Dungeons? Oh, hello, it's like a Dungeons and Dragons board game type of thing. Okay. I'm sort of intrigued by that. That's a cool concept. This is almost as if you're looking down on top of a dungeon crawler, like a Gloomhaven, something like that. The thing is, when you're watching VR gameplay on a what's that, Demio, when you're watching gameplay for VR on a screen, it doesn't give you anything like the immersion and the feel for what it's actually like when you look through those goggles. So it's difficult to really know. Yeah, it's difficult to really know what those games will actually look like.
Is being rebuilt from the ground up and will be available outside
Rebuilt.
of Japan for the first time.
So this is an old game coming back to life, is it? Lone Samurai Box, Secret Quest and Sparks. I beg, this is Tenchu. I wish. It could be. I mean, I'm not. Or was it Ninja Gaiden? Something along those lines. I'm never really up with all these sort of Japanese developer games, Konami games, that sort of thing. Yeah, this looks. It's not Tenchu. My guess is Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden? I don't know. If that's how you pronounce it, I don't know. What's that? Ishin. Okay, I was wrong. Alright. I was wrong. It looks okay. It looks like a bit of fun. Well, not one I'd go for personally, but...
Hello, Madam Mason? I understand you have a
Aka, Hogwarts.
I think you will find my terms quite...
This was recently delayed, I think, wasn't it?
What's the catch?
You are wise
Much excitement and much
to be wary.
hype behind this
Why
one.
is your mistress selling the shop?
She has had rotten bad luck with the last few tenants.
I've heard in a few places that people are not massively impressed with the voice acting in this, from what they've seen.
Seem to escape the darkness.
Okay, bit odd. Crash test dummies.
Watch your step.
Yeah, February 10th, 2023, yeah. I mean, it didn't really show us anything extra than we haven't already seen in other media forms, so yeah, I mean, I suppose it's there to serve as a reminder that it's still coming. Don't forget about it, even though we've delayed it. I suppose is probably the purpose of that. Mixture of gameplay captured on PS5 and cinematic footage captured on PC. Right. I mean, that quite old, crappy-looking station wagon sounded like it had a Harley-Davidson engine in it.
Warning. An instability front is approaching. Take immediate shelter in a stabilized area. Locations impacted include sectors Delta and Echo.
What on earth is this? So what are they running from? A massive storm? Pacific Drive.
After all these years, call her now.
I'm very confused about what that is. Very, very confused. I honestly can't tell if that looks good, bad, or indifferent because I just have no idea what I've just watched. Right, what's next?
着地成功。ジェネレーター出力異常なし。基礎巡航プログラム異常なし。おはようございます。今日もしっかりと稼ぎましょう。AO 採掘ポイント近いです。これはレアサイズのものです。高熱源体接近。データベースにない新種のエンダーズと思われます。所属不明機よりロックオン。緊急迎撃システム起動。標的ではありますが、我々の本気を見せてあげます。
I mean, see, here's the problem I have with these sort of Japanese style games. As I know it's going to sound awful, I know it's going to sound so dramatic. What's that called? Sensuality. They all just feel the same.
He's out of line, but he's right.
Games are PS5
Okay,
console
that's just me.
Let's take a look.
What did she say? Console exclusives, I think she just said. I didn't hear the word timed.
그날은 갑자기 찾아왔지. 그놈들은 무자비했고 인간들은 무력했어. 인류는 형편없이 무너져갔네.
자이오니아, 버려진 자들의 도시지. 전성기에는 10만 명 이상.
Was that Zion? Did I just see? Where's Neo?
황무지 아래 건설한 도시라니.
It's another Japanese game, isn't it?
여긴 무덤인 건가요?
I mean, I know there's going to be people watching this game. Let's say, for example, Final Fantasy is the king of those sorts of games, right? I feel there's just so many other, like, similarly designed type games that just do nothing to, you know, expand on the idea, expand on the genre or anything. They're just kind of, let's just make a slightly different looking monster. Let's have the same kind of slash style combat and call it home time. like this, they often look. I mean, to be fair, graphically, action-wise, this looks pretty impressive. I'll give it that. But it may well be that I'm just coming from a position where RPG games are not really my thing.
Why not, you stupid bastard?
Action RPG games like this. I'm finding it difficult to kind of articulate myself as to the reasons why I think that Japanese games tend to have a very similar look and feel to each other. This one is not as bad for sure. Project Eve. This one is definitely not as bad. What's that? Something Blade. Stellar Blade, I think that is. Yeah, I mean, that looks pretty reasonable. I'll give it that. But still, for me, it's still, at its core, the same thing as so many other Japanese action RPG games. But hey, as I say, my opinion. You are obviously free to disagree. Right, what are we looking at now then? Remember, this is another console exclusive. Ooh, is this Team Ninja?
After 3 centuries of the Tokugawa's repressive rule, the black ships appeared without warning, and our nation began to tear itself apart. Those who cleave to the past, those who embrace the new.
Okay, this one has got me intrigued.
A warrior free of all masters and bonds.
This isn't a new Ghost of Tsushima, is it? Graphically, it looks... Oh, wow. Graphically, it looks superb.
I will watch over you all as your blades carve a new future.
That was cool.
Your time has come. Rise as one.
If it is the new Ghost of Tsushima, then it's not. Rise of the Ronin. That looks alright. Different. Maybe it's just the, the theme of it that appeals to me a bit more on that one. But yeah, that one looks good. I was about to say I've not actually played the original Ghost of Tsushima.
Experience an era of great change and upheaval.
Yeah, that
Rise
looks...
of the Ronin, a sprawling action RPG from Team Ninja.
That looks pretty reasonable. Okay.
Before we wrap
That's
up,
probably the most interesting one I've seen so far. Here we go. Oh boy, that's a big ass dog. Nice looking controller. I know that's not all they're going to show about Ragnarok. Just an advertisement on a new controller.
You do not know everything, boy.
Everyone keeps secrets.
Yeah, I was going to say there would have been some backlash on that one.
Sometimes it's the only way to protect the ones we love.
I mean, I would say this is probably the most anticipated
God killer
game of the moment, I would say. I don't think there's a game that people are looking forward to as a general rule as much as this.
You don't really want war, do you, Kratos? All that blood on your hands, on your son's hands.
What is it you will not tell me?
I can't talk about it, but I just need you to trust me.
We follow your every whim.
But you don't believe in any of it.
And still I follow. Because all that matters is that you are safe.
But that's not all that matters. Who's keeping you safe?
I do not need you to protect me.
You sure about that?
For
tender god! Are they all father?
Death can have me when it earns me.
What do you even know of godhood?
I mean, this looks so good, doesn't it?
Has anyone ever worshipped you? Ever prayed to you? Can you even imagine?
Can you imagine? I mean, on PS4 Pro, the original looks so damn good. Can you imagine how good this is going to look on PS5 in 4K, 60 frames a second? Assuming that's what it's going to run at, of course. I presume it will. Oh, lots of wolves.
Fate only binds you if you let it. Do what is necessary.
This is making me realise just how embarrassing it is to say that I have not completed the first God of War yet.
Fool this man!
That was Thor, wasn't it? I think at the end there.
We'll make our own destiny.
Yeah, I mean, the 9th of November I don't think can come soon enough for the majority of people.
That's the show.
So let's just run back through it then. So what did we see? So we saw... Let's just turn the sound off for this one. So we saw Tekken. Meh. I mean, I know there'll be a lot of people out there excited for this because, you know, Tekken has a very large fan base. I don't particularly dislike the games. I don't have a disliking for them. I'm just fucking shit at them, frankly. I have absolutely no skill with which to utilize when playing these sorts of games. And yeah, it's just never a game that would massively interest me. Then, of course, we had the 2 PSVR games. We had the Star Wars game, which, you know, looked okay, but graphically I wasn't that impressed by it. But if it's deep and the lore is good and the storyline is good and the gameplay is good, then the graphics are probably going to be an aside. Then we had, I think, the tabletop RPG. I'm not sure how you would describe it, but it looks intriguing. As a massive board game fan myself, that one has piqued my interest. Then we had... Was this? Oh, this was the one that I thought was potentially Tensho Ninja Gaiden, but it was actually, what's that say? Ishin. Like a dragon, Ishin. Or Ishin, like a dragon. That looks okay. You know, things. When I think of Japanese games, I think of ninjas and samurai, and I think of like the Final Fantasy style games. You know, the crazy monsters, mental combat, lots of pretty things happening, and crazy artistry. And that's kind of what we saw in this show. Excuse me. The Hogwarts stuff was, I mean, they may as well have not bothered showing that, frankly. Pacific Drive, yeah, we had no real indication as to exactly what it was. The way in which it was described at the very end, very briefly, made it sound like you're going to be just doing lots of driving and trying to avoid whatever that thing is that's coming out of the sky. Yeah, I mean, very difficult to say without a little bit more footage and a bit more information about what that is. Then we had this generic-looking Japanese action RPG type game again. Nothing there, Sinduality, nothing there that really piqued my interest at all. Then we had another Japanese action RPG game. At least this one looked a little different. It had a little bit more of a uniqueness about it, with what looked like the storyline and what was going on, but it still, you know, has that same look and feel with the characters, and the combat as well. But this one, you know, this one stood out from the pack a little bit. This one, I wouldn't tag this one as the generic one, if you see what I mean. I think that one looked okay. But yeah, once we get into the combat, it starts to look a bit samey. But this one was probably, outside of Ragnarok, this one was probably the most intriguing looking. for a moment when I saw this hawk flying and I saw like the American flag, Renaissance flag, I was wondering whether this was some kind of Assassin's Creed remake, like Assassin's Creed 3 or something. But no, this one looks okay. I mean, obviously you can still see the Japanese RPG stuff in there again with the combat style, but this is a bit more of a unique flavor to it. The storyline looks really cool. The time period is obviously more of an interest to me, which helps. And yeah, I think this one could be one to keep an eye on. I think that one looks really cool. I mean, Ghost of Tsushima, not that I've played it, nor can I say it, apparently. You know, that was widely regarded as, you know, one of the best games of the PlayStation era, or the recent PlayStation era, or generation, perhaps is the right word. So there's definitely an appetite out there for these types of games, and the combat looks really cool. Graphically looks superb. The storyline looks intriguing. So yeah, I think that one is definitely one to look out. Rise of the Ronin? I think it was. Yeah, Rise of the Ronin. And then of course we get into God of War Ragnarok. I don't really think there's anything more to say on God of War Ragnarok. Everyone's hyped for it, understandably so. It's in incredibly good hands in Santa Monica. If this is anything other than a masterpiece, I'd be quite surprised. So yeah, that is the show, ladies and gentlemen. If I had to, obviously this isn't really a show, this is a state of play. It is only meant to be a brief update, but this felt lacking, I have to say. This did feel like quite underwhelming. The problem is when you get these state of plays, you do get lulled, as I said at the start, into thinking that you're going to get something from these, which ultimately you're probably not going to. Maybe I was kidding myself in thinking that. So yeah, a little bit underwhelming. Realistically, there's only a couple of games in there that intrigued me. So yeah, for me this was a 6 out of 10. Really, this was. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Are there any games in this lineup that you're excited for or hyped for? Let me know. Hit that like button, hit the sub button for more, and we'll see you in the next one.